Cutting his teeth in reality TV, Brandon Andersen discovered a passion for sharing people's stories. But this videographer is creating stories with more than just words. Brandon tells a story with every frame. Every shot conveys a message, a tone, a vibe. From telling the stories of alt-rock bands like Princess or the Jays through music videos, to telling the personal journeys of extreme athletes like Jon Fromm, Brandon is making his mark with cutting-edge media content. Using the latest gear and technology, his young company, Hitstring Media, is pumping out videos at a frantic pace. But that's what happens when you're in constant demand. Being pulled in multiple directions has given Hitstring Media both the financial success of sustained growth and the artistic freedom to create one-of-a-kind concepts. All in all, the string of hits that they have produced have propelled this media production house into unchartered waters. Staking a position as an industry standard while still learning and growing along the way, Brandon and Hitstring Media have even bigger projects in store for next year. Learn how this company went from bail bonds to boardrooms to now bona fide breakout success in my most recent conversation with Brandon Andersen. Sorry, I know I get all excited and get all into it, man. And like, wait a second, dude, we haven't even started yet. That's what
I just get way too into tech.
Yeah, me too. Well, especially when it's something that you're interested in, and for me, it's like all this video stuff. There's so little of it that I know. Like, I worry how much of it is stuff that's interesting to me versus how much is going to be interested to other people. Because I get so nerdy with it, it's like
same.
This is going to be boring to anybody else who's listening to it. But anyway, all right, here we go. This is the Extraordinary Podcast, and my guest today is Brandon Andersen. What's up, man?
Not much, man. How you doing?
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
We're doing it again, hanging out.
We're in Duncan Creek Skate Park.
Chilling on a beautiful, beautiful morning.
This is the coldest day we've had in a while.
Well, it's not going to be for long. It's still going to be back up to 90 by lunchtime.
I believe it.
And I love it as we start to get into the fall weather and those cooler mornings, especially for exercise. Man, I ran up here this morning and it was just so glorious. It's just so nice.
That sounds fun.
I love it. So how you been, man? We're here back for round 2. We're going to try to do this again, man, see if we can get somewhere. We run into some technical difficulties along the way.
I've been working a lot. Haven't really had time for much else.
What is it that you do?
I'm in the video production kind of world.
We had this conversation before, so like, do we call you a videographer, a cinematographer, a director? Like, you wear multiple hats, so it's kind of a tough one to...
I'm not big on titles, per se.
Yeah?
I don't know, I just shoot video.
Just like to make cool stuff, right?
Yeah, just a creative.
Yeah, there you go, a creative. Well, that's why I've been trying to call myself a quote-unquote influencer, you know, like just nice and broad and, you know, like...
I don't know if I like the term influencer.
I know, I don't either. The more that I say it out loud, the more it sounds retarded, but, you know, I got to call myself something, so... What got you started down the path of video production and cinematography and all that?
Man, being young and DVDs just hitting the market, they had like bonus roll on DVDs, and you could go into this bonus roll and watch how movies were being made. And,
all that bonus content on all those, yeah, sure.
And
all the epic films.
I remember watching some movie, and they had guys riding on the back of four-wheelers, and me at 8 years old was like, oh, man, four-wheelers and cameras? Like, this is sick.
How can you beat that, right?
Right. And I don't know, it was a pipe dream as a kid, you know, like everything's so unachievable.
Yeah, but it was something early on that you kind of identified with, though, really early on.
Yeah. I always kind of had a creative touch, and I never realized it till looking back. I just wanted to just get creative and artsy with stuff, and
that's cool.
Never realized it until, obviously, I got older and looked back on it.
That's neat. Yeah, it's funny how there's little things that we did as we were younger that kind of manifest themselves into what we really want to spend our time doing as adults.
Absolutely. The same thing kind of happened with skating. My mom had me on skates before I could walk, from what I've been told.
Yeah.
And little did I know that would ultimately become life.
Right. Yeah. So your career and your 9 to 5 is the video production world, but you also got exposed to video in another sense in the form of skating, right?
Yeah, so when I was probably 14, 15, basically I was at the skate park one day, and these guys came up and they were like, "Hey man, we're filming an edit." And me being green behind the ears was like, "What's an edit?" And they told me about Windows Movie Maker, and I was like, "Holy cow, my dream isn't as far-fetched as I thought it was."
Right, because growing up, it's like you see movies on the big screen and stuff, and you think, oh, well, that's just, like you said, kind of like a pipe dream or whatever. You don't, it seems like such a far off, far distant
It
kind of
really
thing.
does. You think everything's just so expensive, and you're like, I could never do that, you know?
But with the evolution of technology, well, and quite frankly, back in our day, early up, well, at least in my day, I'm a little bit older, growing up, I mean, certainly it was expensive. I mean, like, we were the first generations to have portable cameras that you could actually carry around with the giant battery pack. I mean, it was still like luggage, but you could actually buy equipment that you could make movies at home.
Well,
And
so
then,
that's how I got, as a child, that's how I got into it in a way. Like, my dad had a video camera, and basically I was exposed to it that way, but I didn't know how to edit. I thought editing programs were only for Hollywood.
right. Well, and for a long time they were. There again, as technology developed, all of a sudden, all of these tools became available to the mass public.
Yeah.
Even the audio stuff that I use now, it was based on what the BBC reporters used for the last 20 years or whatever.
Yeah, it was high 8. Like, that's what we were using for video camera, and it was like, there's no way to capture this, you know?
Right.
And then Mini DV came out and
Completely revolutionized the whole
changed
scene.
the game.
What was your first? So was that the first video edit that you did? Was at the park that day?
Yeah, so, and I actually had no part in editing it or anything.
You just skated.
I just skated. But realizing that they were doing it made me realize that I could do it, you know?
Realized it was possible.
Yeah.
So what was the first edit that you did for yourself? How did you start to realize that dream at that point?
So over the next couple years, I started to get better at skating, and I had friends that were starting to get good at it, and it was like, man, I want to buy a camera. Richard had a camera, and I loved filming with him and whatever. And I was just like, okay, one Christmas I was like, that's what I want for Christmas is my own mini DV camera. It wasn't anything professional, wasn't anything major, but
It was just something you could start documenting with, something you could start working with.
something I could start just practicing with. And that's what it ultimately came to. Like, the skate park and skating really helped me get better at my craft. And
how did you take that there into the real world?
I'm trying to think of the first video I did that I didn't do of skating.
Right.
It was,
But what was your first job in the video production world?
well, my first job, oddly enough, so I actually managed the skate park that was here in Atlanta, Black Diamond at the time, but obviously it went by a million other
I was
names
going to say,
throughout
are we
the
talking
years.
about Woodward? What did we Discover Mills?
We're talking about
Sugar
Discover Mill Skate
Mall,
Park.
Yeah.
And basically, that job ended, the skate park closed down, and I was just at a turning point, you know? It was like, man,
kind of a crossroads.
what do I do, you know? And so I worked a dead-end restaurant job. Like, it wasn't great. It was a brand new restaurant, and a lot of the times with new restaurant concepts, you're struggling at first, you know?
Sure. Well, and clearly that wasn't your career path. That was just something that killed time, or
I did it for
keep some income going.
maybe 3 months.
Yeah.
Props to anybody who works in the restaurant, though. It just wasn't for me.
I think everybody should spend some time in the service industry. It certainly makes you
Absolutely.
humble, for sure.
Absolutely agree.
I certainly grew up in the service industry, so I know all about it.
But anyway, so I got a phone call one day. I had just gotten off my lunch shift, and I was about to go to dinner, and I got a phone call that was like, hey, you want to come on set tomorrow? And I didn't know what we were shooting or anything. And I was like, yeah. And they were like, this is a full-time gig. I was like, well, can I go ahead and quit this restaurant gig? And he was like, yeah, go for it.
Said, yes.
He was like, but keep a good rapport with these people. And deep down inside, I was like, yeah, no. I called my boss. I don't even know if I called her. I might have texted her saying, hey, I'm not going to be in for dinner. I'm done. And
yeah, it's kind of nature of the beast in that world.
so we were shooting the sizzle reel for what ended up becoming a bounty hunting TV show.
Nice. And that was your first full-time paying
That
gig in
was
that
my
world.
first full-time paying video gig. And
And let's see, what's the best way to describe that? What a indoctrination into the industry.
definitely jumped in with the sharks, you know.
Literally.
No, granted, I wasn't like completely green behind the ears on it, but
As far as video experience at that point,
as far as experience, I knew how to work a camera,
right.
right? So
But not necessarily on the run or running for your life or
not telling stories, you know. We tell stories through maybe the process of a trick, which is storytelling, but
to a certain extent, sure.
But telling a story with dialogue is a completely different beast.
Well, and not only just dialogue, but I mean action too. I mean
Yeah.
the whole
You're getting the
piece.
whole.
I mean you're basically mini movie kind of thing.
So it was a full reality. We didn't script anything about it. We did 4 seasons, 104 episodes. We were on CBS at 7:30 on a primetime slot.
Nice.
It taught me a lot.
What did you learn the most? What was your biggest takeaway from that experience?
For me, it was just lighting and like, I don't know, just learning the process of being on set and learning the process of how these shows are made.
Yeah.
You know, just something other than skating, you know.
Oh, I'm sure it was an invaluable learning. I mean, the
Yeah.
volume of information that you got out of that experience is huge. And how long do you say you did that for?
We were on TV for 4 years, so that means 5 years I actually was a part of the.
Nice.
And then after the show ended, last year, like September of last year, then I kind of went to my boss and I was like, hey, you still own all this camera gear. I still need a job. Let's start a production company. And she's pretty much allowed me to have free reins of following a dream at this point.
That's awesome. Post reality TV show, what's been the dream?
The dream has been just to document really cool stuff. When I got out of the TV show, my initial goal was to go corporate. I have a buddy, Ryan Timms. He's in the corporate field, just documenting different things. Like, for example,
What does that look like?
Yeah, so I just got off a project where I edited 17 hiring videos for a dealership.
Okay.
And basically where those will get posted is places like LinkedIn, and their whole goal is to get younger kids into the car industry.
It's like a recruiting video.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought at first that was the route I wanted to go down, and it still is, but in the process of just trying to find clients, I found the music video world. And at first I didn't really want anything to do with music videos, and now
Just because of the hassle and
it just wasn't me.
Yeah.
You know?
It's kind of a different lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, you look at music videos now, they're so out of this world in terms of what they're doing. They're making small movies.
Yeah. And they're state of the art there where the newest technology is. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
and I just thought it was way too far and above my head. And I was like, I can do corporate videos, I can film an interview.
Lick and stick stuff. But then again, you talk about how you've always been that creative, so maybe that was kind of meant to be.
So that's what I found out of it was with music videos. I haven't had a band I worked with yet that hasn't given me somewhat of creative control, either when it comes to editing or actually producing the video.
Nice.
And that's been kind of fun.
Yeah, because that's not their field of expertise. That's yours.
I mean, I have bands that do bring it to me, though. They'll bring a concept of a video to me, and all I have to do is write it out into scenes.
Right.
But I don't know. It's turned into just me letting me do my thing. And
which
that's
is cool,
been
which
kinda
is kind of
fun.
what you like anyway, that, having that creative freedom, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that's what
Well,
I
I
would've-
just saw one of your latest videos. You just released one here, what, the last day or two, haven't you?
Yeah,
or
we
within
did.
the last
Yeah,
week?
we just did a music video that we just released.
You want to plug that one? Talk about what it is?
Yeah, it was a band, the Jays. They came to me with the concept.
Yeah.
And basically I just wrote out.
Big house party.
Yeah, it was a big house party.
It's a funny video. It's hilarious.
It got wild. All that was.
It looked like it.
All that was real. Everybody got drunk. I stayed sober because
obviously, yeah, you got a job to do.
I actually hired a script guy to come in because when you're dealing with drunk bandmates and whatever, ideas will just kind of pop up in their head. You know, Brandon, we should film
get off
this.
track in a hurry.
Yeah. So I hired a script guy and was like, hey, you're gonna watch the script and nobody's giving us ideas until this is done.
Right.
And,
Take one first.
Richard actually helped me on that project.
Excellent. Oh, is he the script guy?
No, Richard was BCam, and
Nice.
Man, it was a really fun time.
It definitely looked like it. Looked like y'all had a blast making it.
And
for sure.
actually, this weekend, same band, the Jays, we're gonna be in Athens.
Are they playing?
Yeah, they're playing at this thing called Athtoberfest.
Oh,
It's
yeah, I
at
think I saw something
Academia
about that.
Brewing.
Nice.
And yeah, that'll be
Cool.
pretty
Good
fun.
show. Come check it out for sure. So, do you think that's the direction that you're going to be going now? Do you think that's
So now I'm at another crossroads.
right? You know, because you kind of are. You kind of
Yeah.
had that a little taste of that corporate world, and now you've had a little taste of the more creative side. What's next? What do you think's in the hopper?
I still think the corporate world's the world I'm going to go down, but I'm never going to say no to a music video. I think the corporate world's where the money is and where, like,
The stability.
me knowing what I'm doing is.
Right.
And then the music videos are kind of for fun with a
Well, it's
little
kind of like
bonus.
you get the structure and the rigidity and the kind of familiarity of the corporate, recruiting videos or whatever, making that generic kind of stuff. But then you can kind of have that creative outlet with the music videos to kind of give yourself some artistic freedom.
Exactly.
So you kind of get the best of both worlds. Hopefully enough stable income to keep you on that creative side, give you the freedom to keep that creative side going.
We're
for
still
sure.
only the first year in business. Like,
Yeah, this new
right.
production company we should mention, I mean, that's just a new thing for you.
yeah,
right?
so it's Hitstring Media. And
Y'all got a website or a
we have a website.
Instagram, all that jazz?
Our Instagram, I'm currently working on a full rebrand of it. So,
nice. You want to put that out there yet? Or by the time this gets released, it'll probably be up, so why don't you plug it?
Yeah, Hitstring_media
Okay.
on Instagram. And
So what else you got planned for the future? Any new creative projects you got coming up? What do you hope to do next?
I mean, man, we have so much coming up.
What are you working on right now?
So right now, I just finished shooting a music video for this other band called Princess. This will be their second release that I've done with them. Our first release is on October 12th. We'll be releasing that one. Other than that, I got Discover Mills Mall. I've been doing a lot of work with Discover Mills.
Oh, that's right. You had mentioned that before.
Yeah.
So did you get that based on the relationship that you had when you worked up there?
No, so when I first got into this whole freelancer video production world after the TV show, I ended up finding this lady who wanted a music video done. It wasn't anything special, but she brought me probably one of the biggest hookups so far in my career.
Tell me about that story, how all that went down. She just happened to work with some people at Discover Mills?
But yeah, so there's a music studio inside Discover Mills, and she had
I did
mentioned,
not know that.
Yeah,
Huh.
a recording studio.
Who knew?
It's called Virtual Adrenaline. Ronnie is awesome. But so she was like, yeah, I've been working with this guy Ronnie, and he has a video room we can use. And I was like, cool, I need to meet this guy because this is like my first 2 months in business. I need to start networking and
networking for sure.
meeting people.
Absolutely. It's the name of the
So
game.
we shot her music video once, edited it all, brought it back to her. She didn't like something about her, so we went in there, shot it again, and over the course of shooting this, I built a relationship with the studio owner. And, he has the full music room or full recording studio, and then a full psych room for video production. And
What is you said, a psych room?
yeah, so like a green screen wall and
Oh,
white
gotcha.
wall and black wall.
Right. Huh.
It's awesome.
And so you started doing video work for the studio or for the Discover Mills Mall as a
So-
whole kind of thing?
With him being in Discover Mills, he had a connection with the
Obviously knows the
the mall marketing
management.
the mall marketer. And December of last year, they did the Santa arrival when Santa comes
Shows up,
and
right.
that's when Santa comes to the set. So I captured that, just started building a relationship with him in the
Nice.
mall. And last year we did their whole holiday sizzle reel. So
Awesome.
this year, coming around, the marketing person at the mall handed us the keys to the mall and said, hey,
Do what you want to do.
yeah,
Make it look good.
create it.
That's awesome.
So
Have you ever tried to leverage that to then go after some of the other malls, like Mall of Georgia and some of those other local spots around here?
so the thing is Mall of Georgia has a lot of red tape,
Oh, I'm sure.
as with most other malls. Like
Mhm.
Discover Mills is really low on the totem pole, from what I understand.
Well, yeah, when it went from Discover Mills to Sugarloaf Mills, I
Yeah.
think that transfer of ownership changed a lot of the dynamic and red tape stuff that you would normally have to go through, certainly
Yeah.
when it was branded as Discover Mills. There's so much bureaucracy and stuff behind all that sponsorship and
crazy.
everything. It's nuts.
But yeah, I mean,
But the cool part about it, though, is you got a nice paying gig out of it, though.
well, and I can put Simon Malls on my resume, and
Absolutely.
because
Well,
it is a Simon
And
Mall.
how true, I think that that's such a neat principle that I see happen time and time again. It's funny because I just got hit up on my podcast for a guy who does audio editing. And it's like how many times you offer to do something that you love for free to get ultimately what is an ultimate paying gig for you, like you doing that.
I mean, so
work.
for me, it's worth giving something away to potentially see a return from it.
Right. Because it's
Um,
like you're planting seeds, right? I mean,
yeah.
like you're just...
Exactly.
You're not going to harvest tomorrow. You're not going to have a crop show tomorrow, but you plant enough of those little seeds along the way.
No, when I first
Stuff's
started
gonna-
out, I was doing stuff for free pretty frequently just because, hey, if this blows, or they'll remember me, you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's the great thing about what you do is like all it takes is just one. You know, if you hooking up with the right person in the right time and the right video content hitting, and when that thing blows up, I mean, boom, you're there. You know, I mean, that's
Exactly.
You get to take all the credit, regardless of how much you got paid to make it. You get to take all the credit for it, so you get to hopefully reap a lot of those benefits and rewards from that.
For me, it's not about the benefits and rewards, though.
I guess that the relationships and the opportunities
No,
that
for
should come
sure.
from that, I think, are
Yeah.
a better way to explain it. I don't mean to, yeah.
I like just telling stories. I like the process.
What's the key to telling a good story in video? What's the
Ooh.
number one thing?
For me, it's a vision. Like, have a vision before you go and shoot it. Don't just... For example, I did an art show recently, and it was just a normal event, but I planned ahead and had a vision for what I wanted the piece to look like.
Tell me about that. What was the vision?
So the vision was, it's an art show, so it's got to look really... I got to get creative in my own way, too, because...
You got to have an artsy approach to it. An
I can't-
artistic approach
I can't just
to it.
come there and set up a camera on a tripod and...
You can't have that corporate lick and stick video.
No, it can't be that.
Yeah, it's got to be the exact opposite of that,
Yeah,
really.
so I went into it with the mindset of, well, I need to make this kind of trippy. And that's what I did. But I think going back to your question, like, where does the vision come from, right?
Yeah. Or well, how do you
Or-
bring that story to life? Like, how do you in the video world? Because my main goal is to tell stories.
Yeah.
That's always my number one goal, and I think that's how you motivate and inspire people a lot is through storytelling. Clearly, I mean that's what all movies are. I know, or I'm learning how to do that in the audio format, but it's completely different in a video format. And I think that there's so much of an art to realizing that story in a video form.
It's just doing your research and
I think like what you were saying, with
knowing the
having
story
the
you wanna
vision
tell.
ahead
Yeah.
of time,
Yeah.
and knowing, because so much of it is about like having the picture in your mind. about
And
what you want
oddly
them to look
enough,
like.
that's how I used to, and still do skating.
Yeah, you visualize landing that perfect trick, and yeah.
Well, even filming skating. I used to find the song before we even started the edit, and I would have a vision for, ooh,
like
this
the
is like
tempo even.
exactly.
Yeah,
And you can
based on the song.
almost vision like, oh, this is a great place for slow mo. This is a great place for a time lapse. This is
I never really thought about that. That's really cool.
yeah.
I like that.
And there were times where I couldn't figure out the concept before going into the actual, like shooting powwow, for instance, or shooting super hick, and I wouldn't have like a song in my head before I went to shoot those,
Yeah, because you don't know necessarily what you're going to get necessarily.
and
like
I'd
what
be
you-
coming back just scratching my head like, where do I start with this? You know, because I didn't have a
Because
concept.
you're having the process in reverse, kind of.
Exactly.
You weren't able to have that concept fleshed out ahead of time.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that makes it extra challenging for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
And I think that, along with the reality TV filming that you were doing, that helps you to think on your feet, and that helps you to figure it out on the fly, man, and do what it is that you got to do. And when you see it, you got to capture it.
I never thought about it that way, but yeah, definitely with the reality show, I mean, you don't know what's on the other side of that door.
Right.
Sometimes you're telling the story of a girl who's been on meth for 6 years of her life, and she's at her lowest point, and now you're having to deal with that, you know?
Right.
And it's
Or she
thinking on
hadn't
your...
slept for 3 days, and you're having to deal with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is even worse.
I mean, we had a guy one time, he had just shot up heroin as we were, like, knocking on the door.
Wow.
And dealt with that whole fiasco.
Right.
Me being the nice guy, he sits in the back with me. The two bounty hunters sit up front. And as the nice guy, he was like, hey, can I get that water? And I was like, yeah, man. And I'm like, oh, still fairly new to it. He obviously is in cuffs, so he tilts his head back. He's like, just place the water bottle in my mouth. And I did. And then he just like started going ballistic with the water bottle.
Spewing it everywhere, spraying, making a big old...
I threw the camera to the front passenger seat.
Right,
bounty
you wanted
hunter.
it to get ruined.
I was like, take it. And they all made fun of me for the next 6 months about it.
Rightfully so, greenhorn, right?
I was like, man, I was just
trying to be helpful.
I just
and
wanted to
nice.
help this guy, you know?
No good deed goes unpunished.
Like I said,
right?
you're picking people up in their lowest points of their
Sure.
life 90% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, have a cigarette, man.
Right.
Yeah,
Have some compassion for guys that are about to be going to jail and
exactly.
having a rough time. Since we're got back on the topic of bounty hunting again, what was the scariest experience that you had growing up, or through? And it doesn't necessarily have to be through bounty hunting, but just
In general.
in general.
Definitely was bounty hunting. We had this guy, we drove all the way out to Lynchburg, Tennessee. It's a town of...
That's where they make Jack Daniels.
That is where they make Jack Daniels. It's a town of 10 people. I'm not sure, but it's... The jail makes home-cooked meals for the inmates.
Huh.
And they have like 2 cells in there.
Right.
So we're in Lynchburg, and we're there to pick up this guy. He's written music for Waylon Jennings. He's written music for David Allan Coe.
Nice.
Like
Old school country guy.
He's an old school country writer.
Huh.
And he had just broken his leg, and obviously the bonding company's out $50,000 on this bond. So we have to get him, like,
Right.
like, sorry, man, you know. And we show up at the house. He lives in this log cabin. And so we might have gotten a phone call from one of his friends.
Saying that's where he was, kind of thing.
Saying, yeah, well, I don't want to say saying where he was, but might have just gotten a phone call from one of his friends. Like, he knows we're outside. And he's been drinking and pilling himself up. And he has a shotgun, and he's not afraid to use it. So local PD comes out, and they're like, yo, this guy's crazy. You don't want to deal with this. We recommend you leave. And we're like, man, don't want to give it up, right? But, I mean, this guy is literally going to shoot us if we try and bust in this door. So fast forward a few months. We ended up talking to his buddy to drive him down the next day, and that
thing
all
was
ended.
cool. He sobered up and
Yeah.
got him in safely. That's probably a wise move.
But
Nobody got shot.
a couple months later, we find out that some bounty hunters broke in and had to shoot and kill him to death.
They shot and killed him?
Mhm.
Oh, no.
So
Yeah.
I would assume he definitely did what he said he was going to do with us to them.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's
terrible. What a shame.
part of the job.
Yeah. What's a failure or a miserable experience that you either learned the most from or that had a lasting impact on you?
Failure or miserable experience? I don't know, man. I suffer from anxiety so bad.
So every experience then, right?
Yeah, life.
My daily existence.
I mean, you can go to the generics of like, I've accidentally deleted memory cards, or
I don't like
accidentally...
generics. Those are boring.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, but that being said, what you just said, that's the worst.
Accidentally
like when you
deleted...
download that file and I only deal with audio files, so my stuff's so much shorter and smaller than what y'all deal with. But like when you're waiting forever and then it doesn't do right or it's the wrong setup, it's so frustrating.
Not gonna lie, I did it the other day. It still happens even once you know what you're doing.
Even once you're a professional and you've done it 1,000 times.
I had 3 projects I had to make of this, and I went looking for the footage. Footage wasn't there. Thankfully, I had a rendered out version, just the client didn't like it.
As like a backup they just never used kind of thing?
He let me use it as marketing, and then it was just
for
time.
Your own stuff.
Yeah, it was just time to finally start working on what he needed. He had the audio files that he needed to send me, and when I went looking for that folder, it wasn't there. So I took the finished version that I had, and I just made it happen.
Just made it work.
Yeah. There was no way I was going to be texting that guy to be like,
your file's gone.
Hey, man, I am sorry, but you want your money back? There's no way I was
that
doing
doesn't work out too well.
Yeah.
That would stain the reputation a little, I think.
What
was the first time, your first big win, where you kind of knew that you were on the right track and this was the way to go? And
I would say meeting that guy at the studio and getting my first gig with Simon.
As an independent production company.
As an independent production company, man, that was a solid win. Granted, like I said earlier, I have anxiety super bad, so I always feel like I'm never proving myself enough.
Right. And you're always having to go after that next gig, too. So I mean, there's that eternal...
Even me saying that was a point that I felt a win.
Right. It's still...
Asking me that now, it doesn't feel like a win.
Because it was too long ago. Yeah, now it's like, what's the next one? Yeah. Because you're always got to be looking for that next big win.
Exactly.
Well, and that just shows work ethic and determination. And when you're doing what you love and you're passionate about, that anxiety is bearable. Because would you rather have that anxiety or go into that anxiety and knowing you got to go to that desk job and sit there for 9 to 5? And
honestly, sometimes the amount of stress I put on myself or the amount of anxiety I put on myself, I don't wish on anybody.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. We always put more stress just more stress in general on ourselves than.
We're our own biggest.
Yeah, we're our own biggest critics, all that kind of stuff.
I mean, how many times do you get back with a podcast and you're like, oh man, I blew it on this one?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah,
and then your listeners tell you otherwise.
Eternal critic and like, oh, I should have done this, should have done that.
And your listeners are like, no, man, that was the best one.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that I find that I struggle with is I always want people to give me constructive criticism, and it's like everybody just wants to say, oh, hey, man, that's great, good job. I'm like, well, that's awesome, and I'm grateful for it. It's much better to say, hey, man, that sucks. I mean, I'll take the positive over the negative any day. But what I really crave, and I've got a few friends that do this, and I'm so grateful for them. Tell me, like, what's 2 or 3 things that was okay but could be better, or that you could do a better job with, or there's a technique that you could try that would make it sound like, just something to help me evolve. Because my biggest problem is I feel like I'm just... After some of these, you feel like you're getting in a bit of a rut,
You know what's funny is I always want that, but I'm always too afraid to ask because I feel like everything's so bad.
Yeah. Oh, I ask. I have no
So,
problem with that.
yeah, I'm always like, I'm not going to ask because it's just going to put me down,
Yeah.
And
No, I don't mind. I mean, I can take the.
but I
licks,
always want it. Like deep down inside, I want criticism. But
Well,
it's just hard.
because ultimately you want to learn and you want to grow and you want to get better.
For sure.
I mean, when you love your craft, you want to continue to evolve with it. And if you're not evolving with it, then it gets tired and it gets bland, it gets dull.
I mean, as soon as you're not learning every time you're doing whatever you do, you're stagnant. And as soon as you believe you know it all, then where is there to grow from? How can anybody help you get better?
Exactly. Well, and when you think you know it all, that's a real dangerous place to be.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a real limiting position.
I mean,
to put
that's
yourself in.
low key a career ender.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, especially, I mean, in your industry, because, I mean, with video and the way that stuff is constantly evolving, I mean, if you're not learning, you're dying in your market for
absolutely.
sure.
As soon as you felt 1080p, oh, that's all I'm going to shoot. I'm done.
Yeah, the 1080p is long gone now.
Yeah.
I mean, 4K. You guys have already gone beyond 4K. I can't believe that.
They shot the Olympics 8 years ago. 8K. So they had 8K 8 years ago. Granted, that was for your high budget
NBC and
Yeah.
the big dogs.
But man, I mean, think about how much TVs were when.
Well, and
when
not even just that, but I mean, if you look at the video, like when I was talking to AJ, we talk about how things become popular, how a new, I don't want to say trick, but a new technique maybe
like a trend
or a new trend in video becomes popular. Then you see a wave of that, and then that goes away. Then you see the next thing come around, and then so there's always that constant cycle of evolving and that next new technique. And it's fun and it's fascinating, but you got to constantly be learning. You got to constantly be paying attention to your contemporaries and what's going on with them and what they're doing.
Absolutely, yeah. If you don't know what your competition's doing, how are you going to compete?
Exactly. You're irrelevant at that point, just like you were saying. You said you don't really do a whole lot of reading of traditional books and whatnot. So how are you learning? How are you continuing to get your knowledge, maybe not just with video production and cinematography, but in general?
So I don't read books, but I do read a lot online.
What are you reading online, like forums and?
Yeah, I dive into stuff, Like with video, I'll just watch people that inspire me, other cinematographers that I want to be like.
Like on YouTube and stuff?
On YouTube, and watch their stuff and study it. And that's why I don't read, because I just dive so deep into video.
Well, yeah, because all your content is video based. I was struck with a little bit when Richard and I had this conversation, and he was telling me that so much of his learning was based on just experimenting and stuff like that. And traditionally, with most people, or in most ways of learning, that doesn't really work as well. But with video in particular, I think it kind of has to. Number one, it's so constantly changing and evolving, and it's so much technique, and it's not like you're reading a user's manual kind of thing. It's so much hands-on of just experimenting and trying and manipulating.
There's still rules to it, per se, but, I mean, so much of it is just your art,
Yeah. And trial and error, quite frankly.
Yeah, it's a lot of testing and retesting.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I'll lock myself in my room and just dive into watching content and studying what the heavy hitters are doing. Even if I don't have the gear they have, how can I do it with the gear I have?
Right. Like, how can I reproduce that with what I've got?
Yeah,
kind of thing.
exactly.
And I find myself doing that with a lot of the podcasts, like, because obviously with my podcast it's all audio, but I look at a lot of the video formats in YouTube in particular for these podcasts, and how that's because YouTube's a different monster than all the other social media markets, in my opinion. And for one, your content always sticks around there. And then obviously with it being video-based as opposed to audio-based, I've been really breaking down how a lot of the podcasts are doing their video content.
Gotcha.
And in the same way, like you can't read that in a book. You're going to have to learn that through watching those videos.
And I mean, I still get my daily dose of what's going on in this world. Like Area 51, people actually went there. Wow,
that's hilarious. Yeah. And well, I mean, quite frankly, I mean the general news stuff, I'm so not interested in any of that, and I'm not really interested in how people are getting that information, because to me that information, quite frankly, 99.9% of it's just a giant waste of time.
I'll say this, with the media and having worked in video on like a TV show, I don't like the way the media works and operates, and I haven't found a
because of how manipulative it is, or dive into that a little bit deeper.
Yeah, so I guess what really turned me on to it was there was a week some kid died from like a roller coaster accident. For the next like 3 weeks, that's all we were hearing about.
Right.
You want to know why? Not because all of a sudden kids decided to die on roller coasters. The story did well.
Right.
So now the media is going to fish.
Brought in ratings.
Now the media is going to fish for those stories.
Right.
And just watch anything on TV.
Well, that's how you see with the mass shootings and the gun control stuff.
Exactly.
And I mean, they take a try, or any hurricane that comes through, or a natural disaster, and then it's like the flavor of the week.
Well, look at vaping. Right? Like, look at what's happened in
the new
vaping,
thing, yeah.
right?
And well, that's funny, because we were talking about that with a couple of the skaters that were up here last time we were having that conversation.
We were. And
that was fascinating to me. Let's talk about that.
I laughed when I got back home and actually saw that was a thing like the next day. But so the media is portraying it as vaping is awful. It's killing all these kids. It's THC. It's the cartridges.
And what is it? And it's not the THC that's killing them. Go into what it is that's happening.
It's vitamin E acetone, right? So what they're doing is the same thing as what fentanyl is in cocaine, and they're
basically cutting it.
Yeah, exactly. But the headlines are reading 18s died from vaping. Well, the immediate public initially goes straight to e-cigarettes.
Say that again, 18s, because I walked over you. Say that again.
What'd I say? Sorry.
18s died from it.
Oh, so 18s died from vaping. And if you actually click into the news article, you see that they're talking about THC. But unless you click into that news article, all you're seeing is the term vaping.
And not that we're condoning vaping, but it's just funny how the media has taken vaping, quote unquote, and then people dying from that. And in reality, what it is, it's not that vaping is good or bad for you one way or the other. Well, I don't personally think vaping is good for you in the long run, and I think we can all agree with that. But these kids aren't dying from vaping; they're dying from basically getting a.
Well, and that's the thing. The general public believes that the term vaping is e-cigarettes, and it's killing the industry. And yeah, like you said, I mean, I'm not condoning.
What do you call that when they're cutting that and the people are dying from that? I wouldn't say overdosing. You would say that's dying from.
I mean, that's poison. I mean, like I said, it's the same thing as the fentanyl and cocaine.
And so these kids are then putting in. Would you say vitamin E?
Yeah, it's vitamin E.
Using a syringe to add it into the ingredients that are already in the pen. Mm-hmm. People are then inhaling that, and that added ingredient is then what's killing them, basically poisoning them.
Yeah, it's people trying to buy them off the streets.
Yeah.
And it's why places like Colorado...
Which is so fascinating that's completely... At the end of the day, it's the media that's manipulating that story completely around.
Which seeing that just kind of further solidified, like, okay, I need to...
And that's not going to go away. So as a video guy or somebody who's in that world... Mm-hmm. What's the solution? Let me ask you this: 10 years from now, what does this world look like?
I think we're already kind of moving away from TV. I think that's why.
Certainly.
I think that's why our show ended,
Your reality TV show, bounty hunting show, ended because the the ratings weren't there?
Most millennials don't have a cable box anymore. They don't have direct TV or satellite. Or I think the way we're going to start getting news, and I don't want to say news, but the way we're going to start consuming content is all going to be streaming based.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the internet is always going to be the internet, where you're going to have to sift to find the truth.
In a perfect world, what would you want that to look like?
I don't know if I have an answer for it right now. And I think the problem is like the internet's still really, really new, you know? Right? But I mean, in the sense of
the
modern,
grand scheme of things, it's
modern
still a baby.
internet,
right?
We're new.
Well, and I wonder so much about the censorship aspect, and we get what happens is we have corporations that take on the roles of what would traditionally be government's responsibilities with censorship and with availability.
Censorship's a really
access. And manipulation. You talk about like how the media manipulates, but I mean, if you look at how Google and Yahoo and Facebook and how these social media companies are manipulating, I mean, certainly, they're just as manipulative, if not more so, than what the traditional media is doing as well. So, like one of the things that Jordan Peterson's doing, who I'm a huge fan of, is creating a new platform that is based on what those same internet principles were based on, where it's open content, it's open form, it's nobody able to restrict or manipulate, or it's real free speech based content, basically.
Well, I think you and me had talked about this. There's nobody competing with YouTube right now.
Right.
There's nobody at YouTube's doors like, hey, we see you, but here we are.
And I just learned yesterday they are the second biggest search engine next to Google.
And who owns YouTube?
Right.
So I'm still waiting for somebody to come knocking on YouTube's door. I don't think we're far off from it. And I think what that looks like is it's going to be for the creator. It's going to be for people to ultimately be able to make money. I think YouTube has done their creators wrong in so many ways.
Well, and they continue to evolve negatively, I feel like. They continue to go in the wrong direction. Because I'm just now beginning to get into the YouTube world. And like everything I'm saying, like, is it too late to get into YouTube? Is it, is YouTube already a thing? A lot of the stuff I see, the marketing I see is like, is YouTube a done deal kind of thing? Because their algorithms, like you said, they continue to change. They continue to manipulate how they pay people. And
I mean, how many times...
And even access to content.
How many times have you seen a Squarespace ad? And not an ad that YouTube put on there, but an ad that the content creator had to be like, and this video is sponsored by Squarespace.
Right.
And that's the problem, is YouTube used to pay out monetarily to creators based on how many views they had per video, how many subscribers they had. They had to reach a threshold to
It was a pretty simple algorithm at that point.
It was. You had to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. But now they're quickly like demonetizing videos. They're having to go to these companies and say, hey, do you want to be a sponsor for my video?
They're having to find a new way to monetize their content.
Yeah, because
YouTube's not doing it for them anymore the way that it was.
Yeah. And actually, we just had an issue with the music video when we were doing the trailer for it. There were a few cuss words in the trailer, and Facebook would not let us boost the post.
Yeah, because of well, and I run into that as well. Like, I had a thing where I was advertising my buddy's restaurant, and he had a chalkboard sign that said like beer and wine on it, just written in chalk, like along with like an arrow pointing to the direction of the restaurant. Yeah. And Facebook flagged the ad and wouldn't let me promote it because it was promoting alcohol and sales to minors. Because one of my demographics is that 18 to 25.
Have you heard of Twitch?
I have.
So I think the next video platform is going to be similar to Twitch. And YouTube's already kind of doing it. So Twitch is a live streaming platform where a lot of video gamers are using it just to live stream them playing games.
Right.
People are throwing money at this. I mean, at one point in time, and I'll let you do the math, this guy had 200,000 subscribers on his Twitch channel. He makes minimum $3 a subscriber
Whoa.
a month.
Whoa.
So
How are they making $3 per subscriber per month? How's that work?
So Twitch charges us as the user $4.99 a month.
Okay.
They pay the subscriber out like $2.99, I think, if you're not partnered with them, and $3.99 if you are. And
But can you follow as many as you want, or that's per?
that's per person.
Whoa.
So you're basically supporting a
So you're
creator.
basically
that you
$5
like.
a month to follow somebody.
$5 a
Wow.
month to not get ads on that one person's channel.
Wow.
People can donate.
Right, kind of like Patreon.
Well, and you can have a Patreon. These guys are also using YouTube to use their content. So they're getting like...
Does the content stay like YouTube where it's historically always there,
So you
cataloged
can
and everything,
save
or is
it,
it
or
only live stream, like you're only able to see what they're doing here now? Kind
No,
of?
so you can definitely save your live streaming for later.
Huh.
So people can like go back and watch. Or you can...
Have it dumped like all
There
the
are some
traditional
channels
social-
that I
social
see
media.
that don't have any content on them, but they've streamed before.
Gotcha.
So ultimately, I guess what brought me on that was I think I see the next video platform going, the next YouTube, the next competitor to YouTube, I see going in a format similar to that where you can maybe, and I think YouTube's doing it now, but subscribing to a creator, being able to, it's just going to be more creator based, and being able to support these people that you're watching hours upon
Yeah,
hours
because
of
I mean
content
that's
from.
ultimately one of my goals is like how to make a living through YouTube, like how to be able to post enough content, create enough content to be able to make a living at it.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean the opportunities are out there. The biggest key is you're not going to get sponsorships unless you have subscribers, and YouTube's really oversaturated right now.
What about Vimeo?
So Vimeo is, when it first came out, it was really sick, and now it's turned into more of the creators that are in the professional world. So you're not getting vlogs on Vimeo.
Okay, because I mean, that's where I first started seeing a lot of the skaters content and stuff
Yeah.
was coming out through Vimeo, and it seemed like that was kind of maybe going to be something that would
So,
compete with YouTube.
The thing with Vimeo is Vimeo's views are based, you don't get a view per time you watch it. You get one view. So it's very IP oriented, and it's it's for the professionals that are in the documentary world, that are in more of the corporate and music video.
Huh.
It's kind of a big networking place for people like me, and that's what it's turned into. At
So
first,
do you think that's good or bad?
I don't use it much because so you have to pay for it for the most part
As a creator.
as a creator. So you
So
pay
that's not a
for
good
X
solution.
amount. Like, I think the free account lets you do one upload a week, and you have like a 250 gigabyte maximum upload. So once you hit that, now you can't upload
Right.
anymore. And that's
Yeah,
why
whereas
it's-
YouTube, you could post as much as you want.
Yeah, so they have like $20 and $50 plans on Vimeo, but yeah, it's not the platform I thought it would become.
Right, because I really thought that might be, it seemed like it was gaining some momentum for a while there, and it seemed like that might be the way to go.
No, you can find short films on there, and people can actually sell their short films and short documentaries and full documentaries. You can buy those things on Vimeo, but you're gonna find more of your indie artists. or
Yeah, I
mid-
mean, everything I looked at was obviously just free content.
yeah, it's just filmmakers.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool for people to watch, but you're not gonna get anything.
It's not,
out
yeah,
of
it's
it.
not a good place to get monetized like
No,
YouTube is.
no.
It certainly sounds like it's not going to be the competitor to YouTube that.
Not that it looked like it was going to be
Yeah,
when it first
exactly.
came out.
Right. Anything odd or different about you that's led to some of your success in business besides your high anxiety?
Right.
Because honestly, I mean, actually having anxiety like that actually does play well into the into the business world because you're
so
your
hard on
toughest,
yourself.
you're your toughest critic. So when you're stressing about things like that, it actually helps you have a good attention to
something
detail.
weird and
stuff.
different about me that, oh man,
Or what's a habit that you do that most people do not do that maybe has contributed to your success?
I'm an over prepper, and I overly prep before a shoot, and that's kind of what we were talking about earlier, where it's like, if you're not prepared going into a shoot, then the likelihood of failing goes up tremendously.
Absolutely.
So
I think that's true with anything.
Yeah.
I mean, like you go into a test not prepared, your chances of failing on that test are high.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
You go into a skate contest, you haven't been practicing, you haven't been laying down your.
Yeah.
You know.
So I don't know. I just find a lot of people don't spend enough time on pre-production, and I spend too much time.
Yeah. Well, I think that's certainly something that will help you in the long run for sure. Who are some of the YouTubers that you're following for video content? Because I'm going to look at them too. So I steal ideas from. Because obviously I follow a lot of the podcasters, but I don't really follow many video guys.
Peter McKinnon.
Okay.
This guy, Philip Bloom, is awesome. He has a full masterclass on video.
Nice.
That you could probably learn a lot from if you...
Absolutely.
It costs a little bit, but...
It's all right.
It's a great investment. Other people I follow... I don't know. I end up just down this rabbit hole of, like... What am I trying to create? Like, for example, when I went into that art show. Let me see what people have done with the art show. And done with their version of... an art
What
show
else is out
they
there?
documented. Yeah. And so I just drowned myself in art show content.
What'd you find?
Nothing that inspired me. Nothing that was what I was trying to create.
Which was probably gave you some reassurance and confidence too, probably, huh?
I wouldn't say that, because I do like looking at the content that people have already created and like, oh wow, I'm gonna take that concept and I can change it this way.
Take it to the next level.
And make it mine, but this is where I got that. And I like watching people who are just... This goes for everything. I like watching people who are great at what they do.
Absolutely.
The Nigel Houstons, the LeBron James, Steph Curry. You know, anybody who is really talented at what they do.
Experts at their craft.
I want to watch it.
Absolutely.
Because they've done something that a lot of people haven't done, you know? And let me see how I can study.
Well, and more times than not, they've put in more work than anybody else.
Absolutely.
And they've put in the time and the effort to
be as good as
they are.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly there's talent that comes with all of this stuff, but more often than not, it's the time and the effort that you put into it that makes you a master at what you do.
Mm-hmm.
What other podcasts are you listening to?
So, yeah, I have a couple video ones I listen to. There's this guy, Scott McKenna. He started a journey about a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was May of 2017, actually. So however long ago that was. I don't even know what day we're at anymore.
Right.
So he started his journey and has documented his full journey on YouTube from the day he quit his full-time filmmaking job at a church to now owning his own production company in a storefront in downtown somewhere, Pennsylvania. And he's posted that full journey. So he has a
What
podcast.
are some of his posts like? What do some of his daily routine stuff look like?
I mean, he's just very transparent with everything. So when he first started, he wasn't afraid to talk money. He wasn't afraid to talk.
Like cool.
You got to understand a real person that's trying to make it. And there was a lot to learn from it, you know?
It was almost like a biography kind of.
Yeah.
Like an open book.
And he's still documenting his journey. And
that's really cool.
So he has a podcast. I listen to his every now and again.
Does he do his podcast weekly or?
There's really no schedule to it.
Oh, really?
He's a busy guy.
Yeah, obviously.
He was doing the daily vlog. So when he first started, he posted a vlog for every single day for
video blog. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I don't know, his journey was really cool. Yeah. Anyway, so that's one I listened to. Another one is, have you heard of Anthony Jeselnik?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the comedian.
So Jeselnik and Rosenthal Vanity Project.
I'm not familiar with that.
Man, it's probably my favorite
Rosenthal Vanity Project is the name of the podcast?
Jeselnik and Rosenthal Vanity Project.
Oh, that's what it's called. Jeselnik and Rosenthal Vanity Project. Gotcha.
And
a couple of comedians. I was just thinking Rosenthal sounds familiar too.
So Greg Rosenthal is an ESPN
commentator guy, whatever.
Host of some sorts.
Right.
And then their producer is Erica Tamposi, who is also part of the ESPN thing. And they started off on ESPN, but now they're on Comedy Central's podcast.
Nice.
So it started off as like a football talk between these two lifelong friends, and now it's turned into just
more comedy stuff.
What can we say?
Yeah. I have a buddy of mine. They call it the Drinking Bros podcast. It's a bunch of vet guys. Yeah, and it started off as being one thing, and now it's just a bunch of dudes hanging out, chewing the fat. It's pretty funny.
It's like a reason to see people once a week.
Exactly. It's exactly. Well, and they do a lot of theirs on location. So like they all go to Vegas for like a fight or something, and they'll have the podcast there. And
that's pretty cool.
It's a little hangout kind of thing. It's pretty cool. And they've done some movies together as well, so it's kind of neat.
Nice.
Who do you think would be cool for this podcast? A cool guest.
You and me were talking about him earlier, but Sam Fistel.
Oh yeah. Actually, hopefully I should find out today if he's gonna work out or not.
Yeah, Sam is.
Dude.
Sam is wild, man.
Yeah, he's a very religious Jew.
Oh, is he?
He's very strict on his on religion.
I don't know too much
Judaism.
about him, but I mean, some of the things he's done is.
But yeah,
extraordinary.
He's definitely he's done some extraordinary things. Every year he rides his rollerblades from Atlanta to Athens the day before to start the Athens to Atlanta race. Where the
reason he does this though, he doesn't own a car, right?
Right, is because he doesn't have a car.
That's how he has to get to Athens.
It's hilarious, man. He's quite the character.
Yeah,
I've got to spend a little bit of time with him recently. I'm really looking forward to chatting him up.
I'm
for
thoroughly excited to hear from him.
Yeah, he's a neat dude for sure. What's the story that you want to be remembered for, or how do you want to be remembered when it's all said and done?
At the end of the day, I tried. I don't know how much more I can expand on that. Yeah, I tried.
Your heart was in the right direction, right?
Yeah.
What's something on your bucket list?
Ooh,
something you want to do?
Man, I've knocked a few things off of that.
Let's talk about some of the things you've already done on your bucket list, because one of those is pretty cool.
Skydiving. I've done skydiving twice. Man, I think everybody should do it once.
Because
it's one of the it's probably the only freeing experience you'll ever have, in terms of you're falling from 15,000, 20,000 feet up, and it's just you, and you can't hear your instructor. The wind's blowing so fast. It's just you. And when you're falling that fast, and hey, you're just free, you know? On the bucket list is, for my third time, I want to do it in Dubai. So they actually do it over the Palm in Dubai.
Nice, yeah.
And
that'd make for some cool video.
And I've never paid for the video or photography of a skydive.
No.
But that's one I think that would be worth every last penny.
Yeah, that's pretty beautiful.
So for a bucket list, that's kind of the big one.
Nice.
Anything else other than that is just traveling, meeting cool people, and just trying to make it like everybody else.
5-10 years from now, what does an ideal everyday day look like for Brandon Andersen?
I'd love to take Hitstring Media to that level where I'm hiring employees, I have a team, I have a crew that I'm paying out, and becoming the business owner of a production company that's full scale.
What are you making?
Content-wise is...
What do you want to be making? You don't want to be making corporate recruiting videos 10 years from now.
I mean, maybe. If I'm working for the cool companies, if I'm working for the Apples or the...
If you could be working for anybody, what would it be like in a perfect world?
In a perfect world, Red Bull would be my lead contract, filming action sports and filming
Because that
sand
put you back
sports.
into the action sports world.
That's how I got into it.
Yeah.
That's where this dream became a reality. So that's where my roots are.
Right? Absolutely.
And I think my roots will always stay grounded there.
For sure. Well, and I like, too, how that gives you, I think we talked about this with Richard as well, having skating as the background for the video production that you do, I think gives you guys a great and interesting perspective that a lot of the everyday 9-to-5 video guys that are producing the generic content that you see, or just a lot of your other competition, don't have that eye.
Skating definitely gives you a specific eye.
A different vision.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of angles that you aren't taught, or
that you would never consider in a traditional video environment, probably, right?
Yeah, you go to school and they're not going to teach you how to film fisheye.
Right, exactly. Fisheye being like the number one right out of the gate. Like every skater I know is a master of the fisheye lens.
So like
for sure.
I found some really neat uses for like fisheye in music videos, and just
because of skating. How cool is that?
because
That's great.
a fisheye isn't going to be the first lens you buy typically.
Unless you're a skater.
So yeah.
Not exactly the go-to lens.
No,
for traditional video work, but for a skater,
it's a good way to get fired.
Right.
But
that's great.
Yeah,
well, and I've learned a lot about that using that GoPro 360 cam, because that's like fisheye to the extreme.
Oh,
you
did
know?
you see GoPro has an announcement coming on October 1st?
No, what's the deal?
They're doing the Hero 8, and they have a new 360 camera.
Oh wow! Yeah, I just got through filming.
Speaking
with
of
that
technology
360.
moving too quick, you just got a Fusion, and
Yeah, it's nuts,
now they're
right?
already pushing another one out.
Yeah, they're already pushing the new one. It's crazy.
We got a few projects coming out in the next couple months. So
Anything about the future that you want to tell me about?
yeah, I leave to LA here in next weekend, filming Razor's Pro Jon Fromm.
Nice.
So we've been working on a project for the last 2 years, just about 2 years.
No kidding.
Year and
For
a
a
half.
Razors video?
Yep, it's going to be about 7 minutes long, just of
Wow.
him. So we've traveled to, we did New York, Raleigh, Miami, Portland, San Diego, and now we're doing LA.
Nice. That's gonna be
So-
tough to cut all that down just to 7 minutes.
No, I mean
No.
we have it. It's there. We have probably another minute to get.
That's always my problem. I want to cram so much in, man. I hate taking stuff
Going
out.
back to another weird thing I do, I've pieced this project as we've gotten done with it.
Nice.
So I can visualize, even if clips change position, I can visualize what the clips look like in the edit. And
Yeah, so
with the song.
that's a good thing to think about too. Is like not only does skating change your perspective on the camera and the filming and the angles and all that, but your editing perspective
Yeah.
completely
Absolutely,
gives
because
you a
you're
different
not,
perspective for sure.
with a music video, we shoot it in one day.
Right.
With
This has
skating
been going on
content,
for 2 years, man.
it's taken 2 years to get 7 minutes, and that's with B-roll, you know?
Right.
So you're talking 4 minutes of skating content in 2 years. Granted, we live on 2 different sides of the country.
Right, and it's all
But you're
logistics and
talking
locations
6
and all
different sessions just to get anything usable.
that. That's crazy.
Or six different trips, probably 20-something days.
Wow. Just for a few minutes.
25 days, yeah.
That's crazy.
Definitely changed the editing perspective.
So that
though.
when will that clip get released?
The plan is, hopefully we'll finish on this trip and we'll be able to release in November. I have a really neat concept for what we're doing, and I guess I can give it up. We're gonna do.
Yeah, because it'll be meant for this one comes out. So yeah.
Yeah.
Or we could time it out how we need to. So
Yeah.
it works out.
So what we're doing for this one is doing the first, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I've seen, live stream premiere.
Cool.
So what we'll end up doing is we'll have a live interview where we can react to comments. We'll have...
You ought to try to hook up with the Jump Street podcast guys for that.
So we're doing it with Blader Union.
Oh, okay, cool. Awesome.
Yeah, Blader Union is the big head honcho on this. And I kind of just came to them and pitched the concept to them. And I was like, it was an idea in my head. And I was like, they're going to hate this. Like, I questioned even bringing it up. And then he was like, oh, I love the idea. And I was like,
they loved it.
Cool. As far as I know, we're going to be the first. It'll be like a 20-minute show.
Nice.
That we'll get to do.
That'll be awesome. Yeah, with the interview and everything all together.
With the interview, and then you get the skate edit.
Yeah.
And then we're dropping the skate edit for free. So that'll probably go live right after.
Where will people be able to download that?
So you won't download it.
Or
It'll just
stream
be
it,
on
I
YouTube.
guess. Yeah.
I'm
I'm saying down again, showing my age. You're talking about live streaming. I'm talking about downloading.
So Blader Union will obviously host it, and I'm sure it'll be on their YouTube channel.
Right.
Whether or not we keep the whole live stream up,
or just the clip.
It'll probably, in my mind, it's just the clip.
Why not have both?
I don't want to cut views. I want the most amount of people to see the content.
Yeah, sure.
And 20 minutes is a long investment, so I'd prefer people just to watch.
Just the 4-minute clip.
Even a 7-minute skate edit these days is an investment.
Yeah, in the world of social media that we live in. I mean, well, even some of the platforms won't even allow you to put that much on there.
Instagram's like, hey, we're giving you a minute, and we're eating it up, you know?
Oh, yeah.
We eat up so much content as a society now. It's unreal. Yeah. Netflix can't move quick enough.
Well, that's what I wonder about, too. Like, my biggest thing is going from the disposable content versus the long-lasting content, the stuff that sticks around. Because so much of it now is just disposable.
It's going to be interesting to see where that goes.
Yeah, I'm real curious about it myself. Because I'm of the opinion, like, where I want it to stick around, but I don't. I think that's an old school mentality, and it certainly doesn't seem to be the way that things are gonna evolve.
Still love the long form skate videos. I still love.
I do too.
I still love long form episodes. Like, please don't cut down our episodes or our movies.
Well, and it gives you so much to work with, because like you could take a long form episode of this podcast, for example, and then create so much other content off of that. Like, you don't have to go consume all 2 hours of a podcast episode. I can give you 5 different 5-minute clips or whatever, or little pieces here and there to get you a taste. And then if you want to go after more, you can.
You know what I do with podcasts is, let's say I'm listening to a 2-hour podcast. I'm driving to the city. I'm listening to it. Put it on pause. When I'm driving home, I listen to it again. By the time I get home,
you got it knocked out.
It's done.
Yeah.
And we need to get better at how we consume content.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited. I love what the podcasts are helping people to do, and helping people to evolve and to grow and to get back into a learning mindset. And I think that is amazing. And the one thing that I do like about YouTube, the evolution of YouTube, is it does seem to be like it's gone from more entertainment based to more educational based.
I'll say this: I don't think YouTube's ever going to go anywhere.
No.
YouTube will always have,
not anytime soon, anyway.
YouTube will always have a place, I feel.
Yeah.
Regardless what it turns into is beyond me. Like, they have YouTube Red, where you can pay for a service to.
It's basically TV, right?
Watch premium content. Yeah.
Or is that
like
YouTube TV?
Netflix.
I'm thinking of YouTube TV. What's YouTube Red? Because I get the question.
I think YouTube Red is
all the time.
I think it's where creators can have premium content.
Gotcha.
And you pay for the service. It's kind of what you were talking about, where you would not just subscribe to a channel, but you're subscribing to YouTube, and now you get access to all this premium content. I wonder if YouTube will move to that platform as maybe another competitor comes in knocking on their door.
Yeah, it's going to be real fascinating to see how that evolves.
I'm a tech guy. I get lost in this stuff all the time.
Well, but I think it's so important, though, with the way that things are changing and stuff, that even if you're not a tech guy, that you understand some of this and understand how it works. You know, I mean, there's so much manipulation going on behind the scenes with all of the social media and all of the way that we're getting content and the content that we're being, I don't want to say force fed because it's all voluntary, but I do think a lot about that. I think about how my kids are going to get content and how they're getting content now and how they get
How
sucked
do you
in with
like it for your kids? A lot of kid shows are on YouTube now. Like, you can just, like I said, throw them an iPad and that's how they consume.
The biggest thing is you have to be involved with it. You can't just turn a blind eye. You can't just hand them a device and walk away. You have to monitor it. You have to be involved with it. You have to, quite frankly, what I like the best about it is you can make it an incentive to get good habits developing. Or
it's like how my parents...
to develop good habits within them. Like, you know, you go, once you do the chore, then you get 10 minutes of this. If you do something nice to your sister, then you get a reward of this and use it as an incentive.
It's like how some parents do video games.
Sure. Because you can't, because if you eliminate it from their life, you're just being foolish.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're probably doing a little bit of a detriment to them by not allowing them any access. But I think the other spectrum is even worse when I see it happen so much with so many parents where these kids have their own devices. They have their own iPads. They have their own phones. And to me, that is just not acceptable.
I've seen the 8-year-old have his own iPhone, and I'm like, what are you...
Yeah,
and it's like, shut up, here's an iPhone.
Well, and that's the problem is that just like the TV for my generation and maybe your generation as well, it becomes the automated babysitter for so many people. You know, it's the electronic babysitter that you can just plug in and so it's tough. You know, I mean, you got to be involved. You have to be involved with what they're doing, involved with what they're consuming for sure. Yeah. And involved with them in general. You know, the more you're involved with them in general.
And that brings up another point. Look at where these kids are in sports now. Like, they're doing things that pros back in our day were never capable of. And they're doing it at, like I said, 8 years old.
Yeah. One of the stories that I'm fascinated by is the evolution of the backflip. When they were the first person to do a backflip, and what a moment, like everybody said the physics behind it were impossible. You can't do it. You're going to die, blah, blah, whatever. Somebody did it. And now there are 8-year-olds landing backflips.
Yeah.
And you do not even get considered into any kind of a competition or any kind of elite level competition without the backflip as part of your resume, as the foundational beginning of your resume.
That's part of learning now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the fundamental piece that you now learn to evolve to where they're going to these insane levels now. So,
unbelievable.
20 years ago, no one had ever done one.
Right, exactly. And the guy who did it was 25, 28, 30.
Yeah.
You know?
At the top of his game, like the best guy in the industry. Well, one of the top guys. Is an Australian dude. His name escapes me at the moment. But
I always think back to, you remember Mike Metzger's backflip on a dirt bike?
Yeah.
And now double backflip is just, if you're not doing it, you're
they've landed a triple. There's a guy that's landed
There is a guy that landed the triple.
That's it. Another Australian dude. Those Australian guys are nuts, man.
Yeah.
I don't know how they breed them so crazy down there, but those guys...
Nitro Circus is a breeding ground for just amazing.
Well, and Nitro Circus has been one of those things that has catapulted extreme sports to insane levels of evolution.
I have mixed feelings about Nitro Circus, personally.
Tell me about that real quickly.
So my issue with Nitro Circus, in a sense, is these guys are doing something so insane on things that people are using here at the skate park, right? So kids are seeing this stuff on Nitro Circus, like, I could never do that. This guy just landed a triple backflip. This guy just landed a double front flip. I think it's setting a bar that's almost unfathomable.
Yeah.
And all of action sports is struggling right now.
That's true. That's very true.
Granted, we can blame that on video games and iPads and iPhones and all that. But I think part of it is it's gotten crazy.
It's gotten, the level of competition and the skill level We talk about it when I first started skating. When we were all skating, it was just, something that we just did for fun kind of thing. But now there are so many people that treat it just like any other organized sport where there's training involved and there's discipline and structure. And, Woodward is a training ground.
That place was,
But I like it, though. I think it's great. I think both have Woodward and Nitro Circus as well, even though they are pushing that in, like taking it to the absolute biggest extreme. I love the concept of what's possible.
Great. Yeah.
And that's another thing that I love about video and skate video in particular is your evolution as a skater. Once you start videoing yourself, increases dramatically, I feel like.
It's like the first time you hear yourself sing. Granted, I would never do that to myself.
You and me both, because neither one of us can sing.
But working with the recording studio, the first time these people hear themselves sing, they're like, oh, that's me?
We all hate the sound of our own voice. But once you can see it and get that feedback,
see what you're doing
automatically improve on it. You automatically get better with it. And I think that's great. And I think that anything that you can do to push any sport or push people to do better or show them what's really possible, how they can get out. Because I think the mind is such a limiting factor. And one of the reasons for this podcast is people want to put limitations on what they think they can do. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that, I don't know if it's a gift or a curse, but I always look at people and I feel like I see potential in them. I see what they're capable of. And I always will try to maybe push them or challenge them a little bit into doing something they don't really want to do. And they always push back on it, like, oh, no, I just can't do that. Or oh, no, I couldn't do that. And it just kills me because, like, when I look at them and I see it, like, dude, you're already doing it in my mind. I'm already seeing you doing this, and you think that it's not even possible. And so much of that is just hung up in our own brain and our own fear, our own limitations.
It goes back to anxiety and stress,
And we all have it, and I have it for myself. Like, there's definitely things where just because I'm able to see that in other people doesn't mean that I don't have that same problem myself, you know, where you're like, I don't think I can do that.
I mean, you even hear it from the big famous movie star people. They deal with it just as much as we do.
There's a difference between being humble and being questioning your abilities.
Absolutely.
But I always want to encourage people to push those limits, man. Get out there and fail. Quite frankly, get out there and fail. There ain't nothing wrong with that, man.
No.
Go out there and just try.
At least you tried.
And that's what goes back to what you were saying, like how you want to be remembered. At least, hey, man, I tried. I may have failed. It may not have worked out, but I went for it, man. And that's how you live a life without regrets. You know, that's something that you will, 20 years from now, you'll look back on that and always feel good about yourself that you left it all on the table.
Ultimately, it's me just trying to get past that anxious mindset and trying to move forward, you know?
Yeah.
And
that learning mentality will allow you to continue to do that.
Absolutely.
And the more that you learn, the more that you grow, the more confident you get, and the more that anxiety kind of, it's all cyclical.
Yeah,
it all they all feed off.
But
themselves.
you have to make that first step.
But you got to take those little bitty make that forward progress.
My favorite line lately has just been "Send it."
Send it, yeah.
Send it.
I like that. That's a great skate term. For those that don't know, it means go for it.
I mean, I think that goes with anything.
Yeah.
Though. Just send it.
Yeah. Awesome. That's a good note to wrap it up on, man. Appreciate your time.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It's been an absolute blast.
Yeah, man. And I've learned a lot from you over the last few weeks, and we've got a lot of fun things coming up, man. And I'm excited to get to skate some, man. A lot of good things coming up, man. So
I'm excited to watch your journey as well, and we'll talk soon, man.
Our paths are going to continue to cross. I'm pretty sure about that. So
I believe it.
Whether you like it or not, man, you're going to be into the fold. So, hey, man, but really do appreciate it, and all the luck to you in the future and all that you got coming on, and really excited to see what's going on out there with you, and we'll keep putting it out there, man, showing it to the world.
Awesome. Thanks again, man.
Take care. Hey, y'all. Thanks for listening. So what'd you think? What did I miss? Anything that you wanted to hear that I didn't cover? What do you want to know more about? Who would you like to see on the show? Hit us up on social media and tell me what you think. Check us out on iTunes and please leave a review. We're now on Patreon, and your support there helps let us know we're headed in the right direction. We have a lot of exciting new things coming, fascinating guests, and some of the craziest stories you won't believe. So stay in the loop and check out more great content by subscribing at our website, 8keystoGreat.com. Special thanks to my guests and all those of you living an extraordinary life. This is Nate G. We'll see you next week.